Here we go, baby.
Yep, here we go. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Jersey Rockabilly, Mr. Rockabilly Ryan coming at you live. Now today I have a very interesting show for you, so I do not want you to touch those dials as I'd like to introduce my very special guest. I don't want to give too much info away as she will tell everybody who she is, but she's an awesome published author. She is a recovering drug addict, and she has an amazing story for you guys. So if you want to introduce yourself for everybody, Jerry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Geri Petito. I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. Ryan, on Facebook, I don't see me at all. Is that okay?
I do not see you either.
Okay, there we go. Better.
Yep.
Okay, guys, because
Awesome.
I want to show my book. All right. So, guys, this is my book. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. I'd rather be a smart ass than a dumbass. Because 29 years ago, I was a dumbass. 29 years later today, I can now say I'm a smart ass. So thank you, Ryan, first of all, for this platform. I'm so honored to be your first guest on Hamilton Radio. This is way too cool.
It's very cool, and I'm very honored for you to be my very first guest too, Jerry. So I just want to
So cool.
I just want to dive right into it with your book. I'm not an addict. I'm just an ass, which I do have a copy here with me. So I want to ask you some questions as to what led you to put everything into the book. I don't want to go so far in it about talk about chapters, but what led you to put your story into words? What was the reasoning behind it?
Okay, so that's the most perfect question you could ask someone like me because there's two reasons. Number one, God said, write my book.
Right.
Okay? I got a tap on my shoulder in the middle of the night. It woke me up. I kid you not. God said, write your book. I laughed. I said, you want me to write the book? He's like, yep. And I did. I wrote poems years ago, got them published. So I'm a writer, an artist, all that fun stuff, right?
Right.
But something I've struggled with for many, many years through me being recovered. See, I don't consider myself a recovery. I consider myself recovered.
Right.
We need to start getting out some information. We got to start looking at recovery and addiction differently. That's what made me write this book, because you are not an addict forever.
Right.
You are not powerless over any addiction or anything. Mm-hmm. It is not a disease.
Right.
It is a disease of the brain cells while using or doing anything that's changing your behavior, which can be completely cured in 1 year. I'm also a nutritional health coach now. I'm a recovery coach. You can be cured. Listen to me carefully, guys. Cured 100% without a craving, you have to give it all to God and change your entire life, especially your diet. So that's what led me to want to do this, Ryan.
That's amazing. And my next follow-up question for you is, growing up then, looking for help with drug issues, how was it back then compared to today? Because today we have, the suicide hotline, drug abuse hotline. We have groups that you can just send a text saying, hey, I'm having bad thoughts. But back then, I'm sure we didn't have all those media platforms that you could go to. So what was it like almost being on your own fully without anywhere to turn back then?
Wow. I want everyone out there to know that I was not prepared for these questions. Okay. We did not rehearse this. Wow. You are the only one that's ever asked me that question.
Really?
So I kid you not. I'm going to tell you something amazing that happened about Princeton House, and we're going to go backwards to that question.
Sure.
I got a friend of mine in there. She's also in the media. I'm not going to use her name. She reached out to me in the middle of the night one night and needed help, and I didn't know it. She was an alcoholic. So long story short, we got her into Princeton House, where I went 29 years ago. Right. So she was in there 2 weeks and called me up and said, you have to come and see me and bring your book, because all these people are sharing my book and they want your book.
Right. Okay.
So that was going to be the first time, Ryan, I was going to go back to Princeton House since I came out of there.
Right.
So I pulled into the parking lot and I called Tiffany, my daughter.
Yep.
And I said, I was crying and I said, just talk to me for a minute. This is so emotional. I'm going to be walking into these rooms that I walked out of at that point 28 years ago. So a year ago. She's like, okay, Mom. So I got pictures of the outside, some of it changed, and I also got someone to take a photo of me inside the rooms holding my books on addiction. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty cool.
Very cool.
So Princeton House was where I went, and you're right. No one talked about this stuff.
Right.
I had to find out from a hospital. I
Okay.
called and said, where do I go? What do I do? And they said, let's get you into Princeton House.
Right.
So it was, I'm going to say this in a kidding way, though, a sobering experience, to say the least.
I can imagine.
To say, they had me in DD, which was dual diagnosis, and we were there with suicidal people. We were there with people that really did lose their minds, people that
Right.
were punching themselves in the faces,
Wow.
for so many different things. So it was an awakening for me just being there.
Right.
So very different than today. There's so much out there, guys. You have no excuse.
There
No
really
excuse to
is.
get out.
There's
Not to
so
get
many
out.
outlets today, which, I'm sure you are thankful as well for the people you've talked to, for the people you've helped that need that outlet, which, maybe years ago they didn't have. But now today we have so many outlets for people. You can walk down the street and just say, hey, listen, I don't have the strength to go anymore. What do I do? And to find out there are other people out there with the same problem that you can get through this
That's right.
together.
That's right.
Yep. Now, speaking of which, too, how I wanted to know what was the reasoning behind your book. And I know this is a big part of your life, a big part of your book. And I'm assuming what helped you make that turning point is in chapter 2 called Faith in your book. For those of you who have not read it, I suggest that you do. That I know is a big part of your life. Now, what did faith do for you to help you make that turn?
Okay. You don't even know this story. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell it to you, baby. I owned you. Listen, it was 1990. All right.
Okay.
I was making a lot of money. I had beauty salons. I was making too much money for being too young. Okay.
Right.
Back then in the late 80s, early 90s, beauty salons made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I had a black and gold Eldorado Cadillac
Oh,
with
nice.
Elvis license plates.
Okay.
Okay. I don't even know if you know this story. Do you know that I had that
don't.
car?
No, that one I don't.
Okay. So that's a flashy car, right?
Right, definitely.
Okay, well, I laugh a lot and I say the car, the license plates, Elvis, and
Mhm.
God saved my life that night.
Right.
So, me and a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, we went into Trenton, New Jersey, which wasn't as bad as it is today, but we went into Trenton, New Jersey at 1:00 in the morning to cop our dope.
Okay. Wow.
So here we are. Yeah, how stupid. See, but it saved my life being that stupid back then. That's why I say 29 years ago I was an ass.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
dumbass. So we're in this flashy car. We go to our drug dealer's door.
Mhm.
He's waiting for us.
Right.
And came out and said he didn't have any dope. We had to go 2 blocks away. So he gets in the back of my car.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh yeah. And an unmarked police car recognized my license plates because my clientele in my beauty salons were very wealthy, prestigious people.
Right.
And one of them was a municipal court judge. I'm not going to name her name, but she's still in my life.
Okay.
And we were very, very close. And I used to meet her at the courthouse a lot to have lunch.
Oh wow. Okay.
He recognized my license plates because it was Elvis, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he followed us, waited till the guy got out, got in another house, came out with the dope and got in my car and pulled
Mhm.
us over.
Wow. Okay. So he kind of
He
knew.
called. Of course
he
he knew.
knew,
1:00 in
yeah.
the morning, he's got young African-American drug dealer that he probably was watching
Mm-hmm.
for a while, right?
Right.
Okay. So, next thing you know, he called this judge in the middle of the night on my behalf.
Right.
And she said, tell Jerry to go home, get some rest, and get some help.
Mm-hmm.
That was it for me. That was my breaking point because I realized at that point, if I was capable of doing that, I was going to destroy my family, our incredible reputation. We have businesses in our hometown.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's where I say God had his hand in that night more than ever
Mm-hmm.
and saved my life. It
Right.
started that night. That
Mhm.
night I made the decision to completely change my life.
That's amazing. That's definitely a story to tell. So
you know?
now the next thing with that too is it's not an easy road, I'm sure. And the thing is too, when you think of smokers, there's a relapse. Now, when you're making that turning point, since you wanted to recover, you wanted to change your life and think of your future and family, was there ever a point where you thought, or did you go back and just have that relapse? Like you're thinking, I don't know what to do at this point.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you never.
Okay.
But all right, I'm going to tell you what I did do, which most drug addicts do. I had my one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The
Right.
night before I was going into the rehab, I said, I'm going to have my one last, and I did.
Right.
And thank God I didn't die. But this is what happened to me. And this is what I really want to make everyone out there understand. So I did everything they said to do. I got a sponsor immediately while I was in a rehab. They help you do that. I went to meetings every single day and night for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, I wanted to shoot myself.
Really?
Because it wasn't making sense to me.
Okay.
Here I wanted to stay clean and sober and get away from this life.
Right.
And they've got me in these meetings saying, hi, I'm Geri. I'm a drug addict. I'm powerless over my addiction, and listening to war stories.
Right.
I was like, this is not okay. Something's wrong with this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So at that moment, I said, I'm done. And listen, I'm not telling anyone not to go to meetings if that's your only support. Please don't think I'm saying that. But for me, it wasn't going to work for me. I would be dead today if I continued on that path. So I said, I got to figure this out. It's not making sense. And I did figure it out, because here's what I want to say, Ryan. What they're teaching is the addict is powerless over this disease they have and will have forever.
Right.
But they're telling the family members, don't help the one you love who has a disease and they're powerless over it.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
That doesn't make sense at
So
all.
it doesn't make sense.
No.
So I believe we have choices. So I will let my loved one hit rock bottom while I'm continually making sure they're okay.
Right.
Until they can finally be okay. So they're contradicting themselves.
Right. So they
the
learn
meeting.
from their own lesson and their own mistake.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it, Geri.
Here we go. And I wrote my book in 2016. It was this thin.
Right.
I just revised it. It came out a month ago. It's now this thick.
Wow. Definitely added some.
And there's a lot more in here that I didn't know. And I'm going to tell you something I didn't know.
Okay.
Bill W., who started AA, was incredible. And he really, truly had his heart to help the addicts. He absolutely did. AA started out God-based and to cure the addict.
Right.
But what happened was pharmaceutical industry, corporate America started filtering in. And they thought this is a great money-making thing, and we have to keep them addicts.
Right.
So Bill W. was cured by a doctor friend of his by taking niacin, the one that makes you sweat.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
The real vitamin, the real niacin, not the fake one they have now that doesn't make you sweat, because they want to make money on that too.
Right.
So buy niacin, the one that really makes you sweat, like as if you're in a sauna, which is great for your body. And it cured him. So he approached AA back then and said, we have to give all the addicts niacin, all the alcoholics niacin. You know what they told him?
What?
And this is public knowledge, guys, so go Google it. They said, absolutely not. We need to keep them addicts.
Wow. And
How's
I'm
that?
glad that you said that too. Definitely for people who want to read more into that. I'm glad that that is obviously public knowledge, but that's insane. That's honestly insane.
Public knowledge.
Wow.
Public knowledge.
That's
Yes.
insane. So then let me ask you, since we're talking about that, is when doctors or groups recommend you to a pharmaceutical company or a well-to-do doctor that's going to, prescribe you a drug that's apparently the miracle drug, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel as if that's more or less, which is, obvious so, that the pharmaceutical companies, they do that for the money, but is it more so for the money rather than helping the addict themselves, or is it a 50-50 battle?
Okay. It's 100% more for the money.
Right. Which is the sad part. It honestly is the sad part.
It's super sad. Ryan, it's super sad. But what I'm saying are facts. Guys, look into this. Don't just listen to me. Do the research.
Right.
Okay, even schools. Now they're telling parents if the child's too active. Are you kidding me? They can't come back to school unless they take this drug, because they're being paid now, schools, by the pharmaceutical industry. So listen, 100%. Now, I want to say this. Methadone.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where I believe certain addicts might need it,
Okay.
but maybe for 4 to 6 weeks. I know people and relatives that are on methadone for 35 years. Stop it.
Wow.
It's only another drug. It's only
Right.
another drug.
Right. That's insane. And I do understand that too, where I've even said this before and had this conversation with my friends as well, where a kid being a kid in school, laughing, running, playing, is automatically looked at as having ADHD or some sort of other mental disability, which, you know, you
Insane.
look back 50 years, that's just a kid being a kid. But since they don't fit
That's
in with the
normal.
norm of keeping their head down, they're looked at as a problem.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Normal and healthy.
Right. Yep. Normal and healthy is now today's norm of being insane and not professional, as they say.
That's right. That's right.
It's insane, isn't it? Just it's mind
It's
blowing.
totally insane.
It
It's
is.
mind blowing.
It
It's all
really
in the
is.
new book, guys. It's all in the new one.
That one
Mind
too,
blowing.
you definitely have to give me a copy of that one because I do want to read the more details that you've put in.
Yep. Crazy.
Very. So then, since we've talked about your turning point, your reasonings, my other thing is I'm also bringing up chapters in reference for people who have to read this book. I'm not telling you, actually I lied, I'm not telling you you need to read this book, not just to understand the story, but to understand the problem in today's society. It's chapter 6, acceptance. Now, acceptance sounds like a very easy word, like you're accepting it, it's done. That word has so much weight to it that it's not even easy to wrap your head around. With acceptance, what did you have to do to understand that word for yourself, to understand this is me, this is where I'm at?
Okay. Let me read the little poem, Acceptance.
Sure.
I'll give everybody a little treat. I do want to end with, when we're almost done, Ryan, let me know. I will end with Change Your Choice, that poem. Okay.
Will do. Yep.
Acceptance. Acceptance starts within ourselves. I'm sure you heard that once before. Now listen up and make it known. Your body and mind must be restored. So please ask God what you should do. Out with the old and in with the new. Remove my crap. Just pray to him to make you see what once was dim. I give it up, my junk to you. I need to see a better view. I'm ready now to make that change. I know to you that might seem strange, but now it's time once and for all to give it up so not to fall. I'm not an addict. This too shall pass. I'm not an addict. I'm just an ass. So acceptance.
Right.
Here's, I'm an open book, so I'm just going to tell you.
Sure.
All right. And it's in the book, but
Right.
there is always a reason, always, why that person starts drinking or drugging. There is a reason. It's not an excuse,
Right.
but there is always a reason.
Right.
So when you're young, it's not your fault. Nothing is your fault.
Right.
You're supposed to have people protecting you. It's not your fault. So, but what happens is we go through life keeping the blame,
Right.
blaming ourselves for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the acceptance must come in. So I was a young teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I was a tough young kid.
Right.
I came from New York, Long Island City. We moved to New Jersey when I was in 7th grade. So I was 12.
Okay.
So I was probably 13 or 14 and a very perverted neighbor. Or it was in his late 20s.
Okay.
And I was very advanced as a child. I had big boobs. I'm saying that for a reason. Wait till you hear the ending of this.
Sure.
I didn't look like a kid.
Okay.
So he was in his late 20s. I did not look like a child.
Right.
And he approached me, got me in a room, and put his hands up my shirt, down my pants, whispered terrible things.
Oh, wow.
And I was a tough kid. And I said this to him. I said, you have 30 seconds to get your hands off of me or my dad will kill you with his bare hands. And he went, fine. Well, this family ended up moving away anyway. But what happened to me was this. I knew I had to tell someone, but not my dad. And I told my uncle, and we agreed we can't tell my father this. So my uncle approached this person and said, you're lucky you're moving. Don't ever touch my niece again, blah, 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 blah. So long story short, why I did drugs was because I believed growing up, as I got older, did I let a child molester go?
Right.
I couldn't live with that, Ryan. And that was really the reason I started. So anyway, God is so good. talk about my faith in God.
Right.
Just a few years ago, there was a family party right after my dad died.
Okay.
This family came from this other state because they're still friends with a lot of other family members, came to this party.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
this man is now in his late 70s, or yeah, late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that he followed me after the party was over and tried to kiss me? And when I went like this, he got my cheek and slapped my butt.
Oh, wow. Really?
And I was 57 years old.
Huh.
Now, hear me out. Instead of everybody out there saying, did you punch him out? No, I laughed. And I said to him, so you're still a perverted old man.
Mm-hmm.
And he went, so? And I said,
wow.
I'm not going to hit you. I said, because if I do, we're going to have an ambulance for you and a cop car for me. I
Right.
said, but I just thanked God that happened.
Right.
God showed me 50 years later, 45 years later,
mm-hmm.
that I did not let a child molester go, Ryan, because if
Right.
I did, he wouldn't have been interested in me at 57 years old.
Right.
So God took that weight finally off of my shoulders after all these years because I've been faithful to God. I'm not perfect, but I've been faithful with my ministry, trying to save other lives like he wants me to do.
Right.
So look what he did for me.
Did great things for you, Geri. Really great things.
Amazing.
It is. Now, speaking of all of that and how we talked about acceptance, I'm going to jump around a bit here to chapter 8.
You can jump around.
Okay,
Jump
awesome.
around.
So in chapter 8, willingness. Now, this I like to say, acceptance and willingness are two horns on the same goat. How do you get those two to work together? Because you have to be willing to have acceptance on your own issue. You have to accept what's going on with you in your life. So what
All right.
gave you the willingness to say, hey,
Okay.
I have to accept this. This is my life. I have to change it.
I'm just going to read the beginning of this poem because here's the answer.
Awesome.
The key to change is willingness. To stay the same is brokenness. Without this key, there's emptiness. So take control and clean your mess. So change, you have to be willing to make that change
Mm-hmm.
at all costs, no matter what.
Right.
You have to.
Exactly. You do. You have to. If you want to make that change, you have to do it for yourself. Right. And
Yes.
with that, again, everyone says it's easy, quote unquote, but in reality, you're living proof that it's not. It's not an easy road, with acceptance and willingness. If you don't put yourself in that mindset and you stay in that toxic bubble, where do you go? You're not thinking of your future. Yeah, go ahead.
No, okay. Because I don't want to forget, because I have an older mind now these days. All right. What you just said was incredible, Ryan, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's easier once you change and you're willing to accept it. I think your life becomes easier.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this. What an addict goes through on a daily basis while they're in addiction.
Right.
They struggle every day trying to get the drug. Oh my God. Losing their minds. Some end up homeless, right? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible things. Nothing great ever came out of addiction.
Right.
Nothing great. So when you do finally say,
mm-hmm.
I'm willing, acceptance and change,
right.
That's going to be my life now.
Mm-hmm.
All good things start happening. So I think it's easier. It's an easier road.
Right. But then with it being an easier road, do you ever get that self-doubt of thinking, oh my God, what if it happens again?
Oh my God, it's impossible.
Perfect. Well, there you go.
It can't ever happen again. All right, so listen. I'm no longer, all right, I'm going to give you a Bible story real quick.
Okay.
Even if you're not a Christian, even if people don't believe in God, they know this story. Paul, the Apostle Paul, crucified Christians.
Okay.
That's what he did. He murdered Christians. But his name was not Paul. His name was Saul.
Okay.
God said, once he gave his life to God, you're no longer that person. You're
mm-hmm.
now Paul. We're changing your name because Saul is dead. Saul is gone.
Right.
So now you're Paul.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't change. I didn't change my name because it's my dad's name and I like Geri. Well, actually, I kind of did. I could say I did. I went from Geraldine to Geri.
Right.
Yes, I did change my name. Okay, baby. I'm no longer that person.
Right.
So it can't ever happen again. It's not even an option. I had a poker league called Midnight Owl Poker. I was in bars and restaurants every single night for 10 years. You used to hang
remember
out.
that. Yep.
What was it, Amarone's?
Yep, I remember it.
You would sit there as a kid with me. I love you.
Uh-huh.
Never ever once did I ever want to do drugs or alcohol. My friend, my dumb yum poker players, I love them all. They would go out and smoke a joint. I would go grab them by their pants, pull their pants up and say, get in here. Okay, I never wanted to do drugs or alcohol. It's never even been a thought in my mind or a feeling. You couldn't give me $1 million to do a drug. I don't even take aspirin. I'm now a nutritional health coach, right? I cured myself of cancers years ago without drugs. To me, everything's poison. And Alta Jean, I'm going to give her a shout out here. Okay, she's your family member as well. And I put out this funny thing to put a GIF of what you think of me. Like, let's have some fun, make fun of me. And she put, everything's toxic, everything's poison. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's just wild. That's the only word I can think of. It's wild is what it is.
Sugar. I don't want to forget. I want to talk about sugar real quick.
Yeah, sure.
If you truly, 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 I'm talking to the addicts now, the alcoholics. Actually, even if you're not doing drugs or drinking, but you have some mental issues, right? I'm talking to all of you out there, probably the entire world. Get off all sugar, all processed foods and all sugar, all soda, all sugar. I'm going to tell you why. Because your brain cannot decipher the difference between sugar and drugs. They think it's dope. That is why 100% of addicts are addicted to sugar. And it's no longer sugar that's being put in our stuff. Now it's high fructose corn syrup, 100%. You want to know why? To make it even more addicting. So if you guys really want to get clean and sober forever, get off of all sugar, start there.
There you go. That's a good starting point. And that's the other thing I want to talk about is the misconceptions of, being an addict, things to get addicted to. From your perspective to, let's say, people of my generation, those who definitely need words of advice, because Geri, you and I are alike. We are very direct and very blunt on what we think and where to go and where to start. So for those that are out there that are in my generation, you do have to be a little bit harsh on. They have to hear it. If you're not going to do it and you're not going to help yourself, well, then I'm sorry that I can't help you either. So what would you say to them that are looking for that turning point too, as just a straight to the point get-go of this is what you have to do to get yourself clean, like just stop?
Okay. That's I hear myself talking, Ryan. I'm not sure if you have a volume up in there, but okay, that's better. So that's a more broad question, and I'm going to answer it as best I could. To me, there's levels and stages.
Right.
Okay. And this is what I mean by that. Levels and stages that have to occur. I believe that the addict's mindset and brain are going through a dis-ease, like I said before, of the brain cells. So there is something going on there, right? At that point, if you truly care about the person, and I use the word kidnapping, but I don't really mean that.
Okay.
I have the personality, like even with you, I'd be like, Ryan, now we're going to do this. And you'll be like, okay, Jer, all right. So I have done this with family members and friends. And this is what I've actually done. Drove to New York and grabbed a family member who's 3 times my size, tough guy. Okay. And said, and an older cousin. And it's okay that I talk about it because he's been on my shows and all, and he's doing great now. I said, get in my car now before I punch you out.
Wow.
And he
Very
goes,
direct.
Yes. And he's like, okay. He goes, you're taking me, aren't you? I said, I sure am. Took him to New Jersey, got him help, blah, blah, blah. I've done that with many. I locked someone in my basement, another cousin.
Oh, wow.
He's been clean. He's been off of heroin now for over 25 years, and he's an older cousin.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Right.
Locked him in my basement. My brother was bringing food, putting it in the window for him. You have no idea. Here's why. I love these people. And in my mind, once we can get them clear-headed for at least 30 days, then it's time for them now to make the decision to choose. Okay. Sometimes they're not capable of making that choice. So that's why this rock bottom crap.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not saying don't enable. There's a difference. There's a difference. I wouldn't I've thrown addicts out of my house that I was taking care of because
wow.
after attempt after attempt after attempt, leave now.
Right.
You don't want
They
it.
don't get it. Right.
Okay. So we're not talking about enabling here.
Right.
So what I would tell the addict is this: I know how to help you. I'm here for you. We can start with step 1, get off all sugar.
Right.
Step 2, stay with me or whoever, we get them help for 30 days so that they can get clear-minded.
Right.
That's vital.
It's very vital.
It's vital. And then once that happens, then we'll work on step 3, 4, 5, like that.
Right.
But they have to get clear-minded first, whatever it takes. So I tell family members, don't give up on your family member or the someone you love, but don't allow enabling either. And I can help you guys. Get in touch with me. I'm here. My services are free.
Which is glad. I'm glad you put that out there, and we will talk about that more close to the end of the show as well. And it's just as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's right. Right. And just how you said, how you've had people who've tried to help, but you had to pretty much throw to the curb because they're not getting that click. They don't want to help themselves. Now, when it comes to that, I don't want to say as a case of hopelessness or a hopeless case. In that aspect, do you still try to reach out to them, or do you just cut it off completely?
Okay.
Like, where is it that you need to stop when they don't get it?
I've only cut 2 people off, and they were actually family members. Because not only do they have addiction issues, they have tremendous evil issues.
Okay.
We're talking satanic evil issues.
Okay.
I had to completely block them from my life. That's a difference.
Right.
There are also friends and family members that I've been trying to this day. We're talking 20 years later. So I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm not going to tell you who, but a family member.
Okay.
Not blood, actually not a family member's family member. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
And through it all, this young man still will call me and say, you're the only one, you and Tiffany are the only ones that I trust.
Wow.
So as of a year ago, called me again and said, I need help. And I said, okay, here's another shot. Blah, 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 blah. Don't let me beat you, Got him help again.
Right.
Now he's not doing great after a year. So again, 20 years later, it's the same cycle with some people, but I'm still never going to give up hope. Never.
Right. Never. And that's the best thing right there. I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people won't do what you do and won't go to the lengths that you do. They just say, you know what? That's it. I'm done. Bye. Have a good life, and end it there. But the fact that you were one of few who honestly I can call an angel, Geri. You are an angel. You definitely are. You. And it's amazing what you do, because there's so many people out there that won't even give that time to someone who doesn't get the message right off the bat. And that right there is a gift. Really is. And
thank you.
Anytime. Yeah, you're welcome. That's a true gift. And which is what I want to talk about is 2 different scenarios almost. When it comes to family and close friends that have issues who you desperately want to help, and Geri, I can connect with you. I've had some friends who've gone down that path who I felt, weren't getting that click, that didn't realize, hey, I need to clean. Where is it to the point where it's you coddling to the point where it's toxic? Where does that fine line end? When does that fine line break? Or is there a breaking point?
So it's so funny how you're using the word coddling. I've never done that in my life.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. And I think that's why my tactics work for the most part. Like I said, my percentage of helping people is probably 80% of them staying clean versus the 20 that have it.
Okay. Wow.
So that's a lot better than these rooms, because AA and NA have a 10% recovery rate, which is sad. And that's what prompted me to say we need to start looking at addiction differently. So, okay, definitely. Having said that, I've never coddled anyone I've helped.
Okay.
I've grabbed them by their face. I've kicked their butts. I've pulled their hair, threw them in my car, locked them in basements. I am not kidding you.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I don't coddle, but they love me.
Uh-huh.
And they're so grateful that I did. And even while I'm doing it, they'll
Uh-huh.
say to me, I know what you're going to do.
Right.
I know. All
Uh-huh.
right, you could do it. All right, all right. You know, and I do it. So I don't coddle, but I want to say to families out there, because I know there's a fine line for these families.
Mm-hmm.
Coddle them the first time,
Right.
coddle them even the second time. The third time's a charm. Don't coddle them anymore.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But still help them. There's a difference.
Right.
Okay? So here's the difference. And this is what I think you're asking, Ryan.
Sure.
The third time, you say to them, you have to make the call. Here's my phone. You call the rehab.
Mm-hmm.
See? Okay?
Right.
The third time, you have to do the legwork.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I'll get you an Uber. It'll take you right to the rehab. Call me
Right.
when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see?
Yep. I
That's the
see that.
difference.
Yeah.
The first two times, you make the calls for them.
Mm-hmm.
You bring them.
Right.
The third time, let them do the legwork.
Yep. Take control
That's
of
the
their own.
difference.
Yep. Take control of their own problem and address it.
That's right.
Yep. Now, with all that being said, we've talked about acceptance, we've talked about willingness, and at the end of the day, the one thing, I think you might know where I'm going with this, is chapter 10. One of the biggest things that somebody has to stick to is maintenance. How does one
Okay.
keep that in their mind? You know, I have to maintain this, I'm doing good. Do they keep that fear in the back of their head as a reminder, or is that something they shouldn't do? The fear of their
Okay.
past.
Okay. While you're working on the 12 steps, yes, keep that fear until you're done with the 12 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Don't keep that fear. Fear keeps you down.
Right.
So I'm going to read a little bit of this poem. You ready, guys? Maintenance. You need to maintain an honest, good life. No more backstabbing like a thief with a knife. Take personal note on how you are doing. Keep everything honest so nothing is stewing.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect we're not, but keep this in mind. If you do something wrong, make it right and be kind. So the way to maintain it is this. In my book, guys, you'll laugh at this, but I changed the 12 steps. They're now the new 13 steps according to GERI. Okay, I just changed them a little bit to make you be more personal with them.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So to maintain it, you every day, even if you're not an addict, everyone should strive to be the best person they could, no matter what. So it's no
Exactly.
different than the average person.
Right.
Every day, wake up and say, okay, higher power, mine is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, God, show me what you want me to do today.
Right.
Where do you want me to be today? What do you want, right? How can I help someone today?
Right. Definitely.
That's how you maintain it. So it's honestly has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol or addiction. It has to do with you wanting to be the best person you can, regardless, every day of your life.
Yep.
That's our job.
That is our job. It is. It is. And you're totally, absolutely right with that. That's spot on. I couldn't have said it any better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, with that, with the maintenance, going forward, living life, thinking of your future goals, writing everything out, like I like to say as like a tally list almost. You think of all the good things and just remind yourself, without me taking that turning point, would I be here? Would my life be this great? Would I have all these resources and these people by my side? What if, you know what? I'm not even going to say that because there shouldn't be a what if. Look at where you're at. Look at the positive. Look at everything you've done. There should not be a what if, so I'm going to correct myself there.
Yes.
Yep. And so with that, I'm going to say change. It's your choice, which is something that
Okay.
you said in your book as well. Change is your choice. You take that, you take the issue, grab it by the horns, and you run. You figure out how to change that. So what gave you that power? I'm jumping around a lot here because there's so much to cover.
It's okay. I love it.
Story.
You're doing incredible.
So with that change being your choice, I want to know what gave you that momentum to take that and run with it. I know we've kind of touched base, but I want to know what the biggest thing is that you saw that you ran to make that change for.
Okay. So here's where I'm going to contradict what they're taught in the rooms again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They teach you that you have to be completely. Are we still there, guys?
Yep, we're still here.
Okay, because I don't see me. I see the HR.
I still see you.
Okay, can you hear me at least?
Yep,
All right.
I can hear you.
So the rooms teach us that we have to be completely selfish in order to remain sober.
Right.
That it can't be about family. It can't be about our kids. It can't be about our spouses. It can't be about our jobs. Or it has to be about us.
Mm-hmm.
That is 1000% wrong.
Okay.
Because every addict in the world is selfish, and that's what made them become an addict.
Right.
So the way to do it is you have to become selfless.
Right.
And you have to get to a point where you say, no more about me. Now I have to change my bad behaviors for
Mm-hmm.
someone I care about. And that was my child, my
Right.
family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Just Ruben, do you know, is everything okay on the screen? I see just an HR on my end, but that's okay as long as it's okay out there.
Yeah, just I'm working on it. Just keep talking. You're
Oh
fine.
no, that's okay as long as it's okay. All right. So anyway, so here's the thing, Ryan.
Yeah.
What I teach addicts is selfishness got us into this problem here.
Okay.
So if you're going to continue on a path of selfishness, it's never going to happen. So that's a contradiction.
Right.
So I want to read the poem then, Change Your
Okay.
Choice. But before I do, I want to say this.
Sure.
Again, if the rooms are teaching that the person has this disease and will be an addict forever and is powerless over it,
Right.
but again, teaching the family members to let that person hit rock bottom until they choose
Mm-hmm.
to do something about it. So they're saying right there that person has the power to choose.
Right. Right.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
So-
It's the only word.
It's right. It's crazy because how can that addict get clean and sober forever if they're being so confused?
Right. Yep. They're stuck in
Okay.
that cloud. Yep.
They're stuck.
They're stuck.
So I want to read this poem.
Sure.
Change your choice, because everyone has to have that life-changing moment that I had that night in that car in the middle of Trenton.
Right.
And then I got to tell you something incredible that God has done also after this poem.
Sure.
Okay? All right. I had a life-changing moment that I knew had to be. The only way to change things was to first start with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked in the mirror and woke up one day and thought to myself, I needed to pray.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked God to change me, to help me stay strong, to clean up my mess, to right what's been wrong. I cleaned up my diet. I cleaned up my room. I cleaned up all habits with this old dirty broom. I kept going forward and never looked back. I refused to derail, stayed on the right track. I realized my worth and all that did matter through my selfish behavior, the lives I had shattered. I finally decided at 30 years old to stop abusing my body, my mind, heart, and soul. My life-changing choice that I had once made, over 29 years now, guys, my debt has been paid. So you read all my thoughts on how to stay clean. It's all or nothing, my friend. There's no in between. To live or to die is a choice you must make. Your life is not worthless and you're not a mistake. One day at a time is a slogan you've heard. It works if you work it while applying his word. For you to get healthy, for your mind not to fail, escaping reality will keep you in jail. With addictive behavior, sex, drugs, food, or money, substituting addictions, no, isn't that funny? I'm not an addict. This too shall pass. I'm not an addict. I'm just an ass. So I want to tell you a little story real quick about what God has also done for me all these years later.
Right.
When I had my beauty salon, I was in Ewing,
Okay.
and I was on Parkside Avenue.
Okay.
And it was, like early 90s and late 80s, early 90s, actually.
Okay.
And we had a couple different drug dealers, and they used to bring our drugs to us, okay,
Mhm.
because we were so prestigious, right? They would come to us.
Right. Wow.
And yeah, check this out. So when my book was published, I get a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know, and it said, "Ma'am, can I ask you a question? And I cracked up because you know how I love that word, ma'am, right?
Right.
So I said, sure, are you okay? And this person said, well, I saw a book with your name on it. Can I ask you what that book is about? And I said, yes, it's a book on addiction. And he said, because I'm in a sober living place for 16 months now, but not by choice. And if I don't stay clean and sober, I go to prison for a very long time.
Wow.
So I said to him, okay, I have a book here. I also had a Bible for addicts. He said he didn't believe in God anymore. I said, give me the address. I'm going to send these to you, which I did. So for the next 2 weeks, we were messaging each other, and he was reading because he was asking me questions about everything he was reading.
Right.
So he wanted to accept Jesus. He wanted to pray with him. So I said, well, now we have to look at each other on Messenger. So let's do that video.
Right.
Okay, are you ready for this, Ryan? Are you ready?
I'm ready for it.
I'm staring at him, and I said to him, can I ask you a question? Did you used to have long, brownish blonde hair? Did you ever sell drugs to Parkside Avenue, Geri's Final Touch? He said, absolutely. And he named me and my friend at the time. And I said, you were my drug dealer.
Wow.
So not only is he still in my life, we talk on Facebook. He came to an event to meet me. I got to hug him, and he's doing okay.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
That's
How about
incredible.
that?
That is, yeah, really. Wow. Now, Geri, with only 5 minutes left in the show, I do want to ask you a couple of favors. For those out there who are recovering, for those who are still struggling, can they contact you in any way, by any means, to ask you for help, even if it's somebody to talk
Absolutely.
to? Now, is there
Absolutely. So, go ahead.
Now, is there any way specifically you'd like them to contact you by?
Yes. I'm not giving phone numbers out at this point. There's a reason why, but they can contact me through Facebook Messenger, GERI PETITO. They can get in touch with you as well. They can get in touch with Hamilton Radio. They can even get in touch with Recovery Advocates because I'm friendly with all of them. And I will personally help them. Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, with that, I would like to ask if you could give any advice to those struggling, for anybody we know personally or anybody out there. What advice do you give to those who need a leg to stand up on?
Who need a leg to stand up on? Be a little more specific. What do you mean by a leg to stand up on? You mean are they feeling weak, or are they being held down?
As in, they're being held down. They need that guiding light, per se, of how to start.
Okay, gotcha. All right. One day at a time. It's a slogan you've heard.
Yep.
It starts by applying his word. Take it to God.
Take it to God.
Take it to God. Now I'm going to say this. We're taught in the rooms higher power. Well, I'd rather have someone called God than anything else, any other higher power. But take it to God. And if you don't believe in him, say to him, if you're really out there, show me the truth. He will show you something. He will absolutely show you and reveal himself to you, because without God, we are powerless. We are.
Right.
So bring it to God, guys. And from that moment on, I promise you, he will not leave you, and he will help you, and you will get the answers one day at a time.
That's all you can do, is one day at a time, step by
That's
step.
all you can do. Ryan, real quick, can I read Faith?
Sure, go for it.
All right. Hold on, guys. Oh, actually, you know what? I want to read real quick. Where is it? Put Down the Gun. That's the one I really want to read, okay, guys? Because our drug of choice is a gun. Here we go. I had to have this purple gun just in case my life was done. I kept it safe, locked in my room, because I was filled with gloom and doom. Yes, there were times that I just knew if I loaded it up what I could do, but I kept on hearing that gentle voice. Put down the gun. You have that choice. Life may seem hard at the end of the day. That's when you need to really pray. Dear Father, I beg you, show me the truth. How can life be so bad when I'm only a youth? Get rid of that gun and go take a shower. Ask someone for help. You do have that power. There you go, guys.
Love that. Absolutely love that, Geri. So I do
Thank you, sweetie.
You're welcome. So I do want to say, with a couple minutes remaining, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. It is a very in-depth and very powerful and inspirational one. And for those who have stayed and listened, that we've talked about her book, I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. You definitely have to read it. Not only does it have some great inspirational pieces and poems, but it does have hard life facts. There is help out there. There are ways now. All you have to do is reach out and grab that hand. If you want that help, you grab that hand. That's all you have to do. And like Jerry has said, name it. Call her, ask for help. Anybody who needs it, just take it. We are here for you. If you're struggling, there's always a voice. You have a voice. Let it be heard. If you need help, say it, and we will gladly come to you for any reason, any means, even if it's somebody just to talk to for 5 minutes. If you're feeling lonely, if you need that help, there are people here, which Jerry, I'm sure as well, you can say.
Amen.
There you go. Yep.
Amen.
And now I do want to say, with 2 minutes left, Jerry, I do want to inform you as well. As you being my first guest on the show, I do want to announce that I did put on my page that I'm going to be doing a giveaway as well as a thank you. So I don't know if you saw that or not. But
No.
So for those who are listening and saw the ad that I put on my page and my personal, I was going to do a giveaway special to the show for being the first show. And it's a 1950 set of atomic coffee cups. I will be posting a picture and info on it on my page tonight, and how you can win and how you can enter. So you guys just keep an eye out for that, for the giveaway for the retro cups. I just wanted to add that out there for you.
That is so cool.
And so I just want to say thank you again, Jerry. Thank you for being my guest and sharing an amazing inspirational story, and I look forward to hearing from you again.
And thank you, Ryan, again. I'm so honored to be your first guest, baby, on Hamilton Radio.
Thank
I
you
cannot
so
wait for
much.
the rest of your shows.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say it enough. Thank you. So thank you,
Love
guys.
you.
I love you too, Jerry. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Stay tuned next month on Thursday, I believe September 24th, I believe is the date. Thursday, September 24th, I could be wrong, is my next show. So stay tuned for details on that as well. Yep. So thank you. Ruben,
Thank you.
we are good to cut.